I've realized a couple things since revisiting all of these Dan Schneider shows. His content isn't really that funny. This universe is so connected yet disconnected at the same time that I can't really get a coherent, timeline. And we know that Dan is a fucking creep. For the most part, I want to somehow come to a conclusion about how all of these shows are connected and talk about the inconsistencies, because of course I know that Danny Boy wasn't actually trying to plan to actually make a cinematic universe over here. But we'll see how confusing this gets when we get into this. So first things first, I know that there are a lot of stuff that has come out about Dan, especially in the last couple of years, but I'm not going to be talking about any of those controversies. Not that they would really fit into this type of video, but I just want to kind of bring that up because I don't want anybody to think that that's what the topic is or is going to be involved in this somehow. We are just strictly looking at the content of these TV shows and how they connect with each other. So first things first, a lot of people refer to Dan Schneider's universe of TV shows and characters as the Schneiderverse. So that's what I'm going to refer to it as in this video. So let's first explain what this is. Starting in 1994 with All That until his departure from Nickelodeon for reasons we know, the Schneiderverse has shown that a lot of these shows coexist within the same universe, and people have started to also explore the Nickverse, which implies that some of the Nickelodeon shows coexist within the same universe as each other, but that's a different topic we're not going to be able to look at because the Schneiderverse history is already just so much than I previously even thought that I wouldn't even be able to do so much without literally breaking all of your brains. So what we're going to do is look at every piece of evidence that we have to show that these Dan Schneider shows are connected to each other. But like I said, we're not going to go into how Dan Schneider shows are really connected to everything else. Maybe in another video we can go into how the Nickverse is expanded beyond just Dan Schneider, but I really just want to keep it specific to just this for this one video. And also I'm going to focus not just on how the people connect within these universes. I'm looking at companies, I'm looking at properties that were invented within these universes that have overlapped within other universes. So we are looking at the deepness of Schneider. Okay, that sounds really weird out of context. Let me try again. We are going to be looking at the full enchilada of Dan Schneider stuff. And it still kind of sounds weird, but let's move on anyway. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get started on what this Schneiderverse actually is. The sketch shows of Dan Schneider are overall just TV shows that exist within the other universes. They're usually just referenced as TV shows. They're never really referenced as being real people or events of any kind. So for that, we're just going to leave them as just TV shows. Specifically, the Amanda Show is connected to Drake and Josh. In the Dune Buggy episode, we can actually hear the Amanda Show playing in the background on the TV. We also know that All That exists as a TV show within these Dan Schneider shows because we've seen them on TV guides. We've even seen Keenan mention it in iParty with Victorious.
See that? There it is right there. Why does everybody want to borrow money from me? I mean, you guys, Andy Samberg, half the original cast of All That.
Oh, I used to love that show!
We even see a mug with the All That logo and Game Shakers. At first glance, it looks like Zoey 101 and Drake and Josh don't have that many similarities because it can be hard to miss, but there actually are quite a few of them. In Merry Christmas Drake and Josh, as Josh is flipping through the channels, on channel 5 you see for a quick second a reference to the finale of Zoey 101, the Chasing Zoey special. There's a part in the special where a character, Lola, and her date Vince are going to prom, and there's just this really shitty cab driver played by shitty Dan Schneider, so it kind of fits whatever, right? Probably what he's doing now. Because of the whole cab thing, you actually might not recognize that it actually is a reference to Zoey 101 because it doesn't show any regular characters in it. It is for a quick glimpse, so you really have to know your stuff if you're gonna really recognize it. In Zoey 101, the webcam episode, Zoey, Nicole, and Quinn are sitting on the couch watching TV. Listen closely to what they're watching.
This is the funniest show ever. The best. Nicole, you left these in the dryer.
That actually is Drake and Josh on the TV, so we know that Drake and Josh, again, exists as a TV show here in Zoey 101. In both Drake and Josh and Zoey 101, we get the reference to Mystic Mountain. In the episode Demonator from Drake and Josh, we actually hear them talking about and referencing Mystic Mountain.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Mystic Mountain. Alrighty, the Demonator, please remember.
In Zoey 101, again, they mention Mystic Mountain when they want to go to a roller coaster for their field trip.
I suggest this entire class take a field trip to Mystic Mountain.
Yeah.
So this next one I completely forgot about, and I can't believe I didn't remember this plot line or anything from Zoey 101. In Zoey 101, there's an episode where Logan gets cut off. There's a subplot where Michael walks in and catches Mark watching Henry Doheny on the TV.
Hey! That's the great Doheny!
In that episode, we hear Henry Doheny, we see that he's referenced, so we know that he is also a connection between Drake and Josh and Zoey 101, because there's actually a full episode on Henry Doheny in Drake and Josh. Zoey 101 and iCarly are also very much connected, and I'm going to prove it to you right now with every piece of evidence that I could scrounge up. In the episode of iCarly, iPair Store, we actually see in the background that there's a TV guide. Drake and Josh and Zoey 101 are both on that TV guide. In the episode of Zoey 101, Anger Management, we actually see Splash Face being used, and then we see it again being used in I Fix a Pop Star on the episode of iCarly. In the same episode of Zoey 101, we actually see Lola go on to iCarly.com. The iCarly theme song is used not only once, but twice in Zoey 101. We hear a weird digitalized version, and then we hear the version from the theme song of iCarly.
That's a good ringtone.
Coco's cousin?
Yep.
To me, it's like it's actually indicated that within Zoey 101, iCarly is a TV show, but we'll get into why that contradicts itself. In the episode of I Stakeout of iCarly, we actually see in the background Quinn's Fraz energy drink. We can infer that Quinn actually made this successful energy drink, and she actually was able to get it to be sold in convenience stores and movie stores and stuff. In the episode of iCarly, I Owe You, if you look closely in the back when Sam is going into one of the bathrooms, you can actually see a Blix machine being used. In iCarly, I Was a Pageant Girl, we hear the next girl come on as Quinn Pensky. We know that that name is one of the characters from another one of Dan Schneider's shows. Take a listen.
Here. My name is Quinn Chesky. You keep fried chicken in your purse.
Now, clearly when you hear this, we know that this isn't Quinn's voice, but the reason why I am going to infer and count this as Quinn is because in Zoey 101, the Silver Hammer Society episode, we know that Quinn was a pageant girl.
It was before I turned 7 and realized my true path was intellectual superiority over all others.
Quinn,
Don't lose respect for me. Don't judge me. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
I don't know, she ended up hating it, so I don't understand why he or she would be into it, but maybe she decided to go back to do it ironically, or I don't know, maybe to make some type of point about science girls being in pageants. I don't know. In the episode I Fix a Pop Star, Sam references Buzz magazine, which is also shown in Zoey 101, Miss PCA.
6 years ago, Buzz magazine named her sexiest woman alive.
Aim first prize.
which is?
Whoever wins gets to be on the cover of Buzz magazine.
Buzz? No way!
In I Start a Fan War, we see Stacy Dilson appear in this episode, so we know that Stacy is a real person that exists in the Zoey 101 and iCarly universe. We also see Stacy again in the I Hire an Idiot. In the Zoey 101 episode, The Radio, we see Quinn search using the search engine Zaplook, and we actually see that this is frequently used throughout iCarly, and it's used again in Zoey 101 as well. Now I want to get into Girly Cow, because because this actually connects Drake and Josh, Zoey 101, and iCarly together. In the spring breakup episode, Chase is watching a cartoon, which I can actually presume to be Girly Cow, because we see a character, and I'm pretty sure we've seen this character before on other little glimpses we've seen of this cartoon. On the episode of Zoey 101, Trading Places, Lola can be seen watching the show Girly Cow, and it's mentioned in iCarly as well. We actually see again in anger management that Girly Cow is being watched by Lola. So this one episode of anger management seems to have a lot of little pieces of evidence that connects both of the universes. Just to be more specific, if you want to go back and look, Girly Cow is also seen in I Owe You and I Find Lubert's Lost Love, and a clip of Girly Cow was shown in I Lost My Mind. So if you want to go back and try to find those little references, you can. But I'm not doing all of that. All you have to know is that these are all connected, but I got a little picture so you can see that it was on iCarly. Also, if you look at the title sequence where Freddy says 5432, you can actually see on the bookmark Girly Cow. We see Girly Cow again in Drake and Josh Merry Christmas. When they're flipping through the channels, you can see the same cartoon that they're watching. Now going back on to Stacey Dilson, because she seems to be very recurring in all of these. In Sam and Cat, the episode #Mad About Shoe, Stacey Dilson appears again in this episode where she gets hit by a pipe or something.
Hey, there's a girl riding her bike toward the pipe.
In Sam and Cat, #First Class Problems, Coco Wexler appears in the episode. She also references Pacific Coast Academy from Zoey 101, implying that this is an actual school within the universe, and we know that Sam and Cat is a spin-off of iCarly and Victorious, so we know that Sam and Cat counts as the same universe, clearly. iCarly and Victorious actually are pretty obvious with their connections, clearly. We know from certain events that have happened that I don't want to talk about. We see little hints, like here and there, like the slap can be seen on the iCarly theme song. iCarly and Drake and Josh also have a few connections we've already seen. In I Make Sam Girlier, Sam has a picture of Drake from his profile page in the Drake and Josh website in her locker. Okay, so let's talk about Deca's shoes, because that connects actually all 4 shows together: Zoey 101, Drake and Josh, iCarly, and Victorious. And we're gonna see that in right now. So Drake's commercial, clearly, we know that. We also see the commercial again in Zoey 101 when they're watching a Deca Air Puff shoe commercial, and it's the same one from the Drake and Josh thing. So then we go on to the I Promote Tech Foots episode. We also see in Victorious that Andre is wearing a Deca sweat tank top. So we know that all 4 shows are connected by Deca shoes. In iCarly, I Saved Your Life, we actually see that Freddy has Galaxy Wars bed sheets in his room, and Galaxy Wars has been mentioned in Zoey 101 and Drake and Josh. In I Started Fan War, we see Gavin, Eric, and Craig when they went to the Webicon, and a picture of them is on iCarly.com, so we know that they exist within iCarly as real people. In I Get Pranky, we see that Carly watches Megan.
He didn't kill Hervé. The camera flash just stunned him.
How come that little girl's so good at pranks?
Actually, in the same episode of iCarly, the prank one, we actually see that Spencer is watching Drake and Josh. He's watching the episode where they get stormed in, and Crazy Steve is watching an episode of Dora. We see that Peruvian puff peppers actually exist in the I Cook episode. The show Celebrities Underwater is actually in iCarly, Victorious, and Drake and Josh. In the IQ episode of iCarly, we see that she goes to a premiere theater with her date Kyle, and she's going to see a movie called Iklakma, and we know that both of those things were mentioned on Drake and Josh. What is weird when I saw this, I remembered iCarly is known to take place in Seattle, and I highly doubt that they went all the way to San Diego to see a movie, so it would make sense that Helen has some chain theaters in the area, further connecting these two universes together. Here's another weird thing that in Merry Christmas Drake and Josh, as Josh is flipping through the channels again, we see that he flips through the iWeb Awards. On iCarly's I Go to Japan movie, Dan's wife, Hungry Girl Lisa, gets to play a contestant, I guess, for the cooking show segment, because of course she does, and we see that actually like Lisa Lillian is kind of referenced a few times in this show, like either through Hungry Girl or Lisa Lillian herself.
My name is Lisa Lillian. You did.
But like, I can't really stand this, and honestly, if you just know anything about this bitch, then you know why. But what matters is that we see the iWeb Awards, the exact same year that the time iCarly Goes to Japan special airs, linking the two universes in real time. So it also establishes that Drake and Josh is an existent universe among the iCarly universe. So let's get on to Drake and Josh and Victorious, because we actually see some weird ones. In the episode Wi-Fi in the Sky, you can see that Beck knows someone in his friends list named Mindy Crenshaw. Now, this could be a total coincidence, but who do we know that has that name? And also, we know further that this could be a possibility that he knows the Mindy from Drake and Josh. Because
and most recently, I was a senior manager at the Premier Movie Theater in San Diego.
And in that episode, we know that it's Helen because she references stuff from her character in Drake and Josh.
As a child, I starred in the television program Happy Times.
That is not my job.
Yeah, that was my catchphrase.
That is not my job.
You don't do it right.
We know that she exists in this universe as a real person, Helen. So we know that Mindy also could exist. In the episode of Victorious Jade Gets Crushed, we actually see during the end credits that Rex sings the ending of the Drake and Josh theme song.
Over your shoulder, you know that I told you I'll always be picking you up when you're down. So just turn around.
In the episode Who Did It to Trina, there's a brief clip showing Drake and Josh, and Kat is actually referencing it.
No?
It happened on a TV show.
Drake and Josh.
That show was classic.
Oh, then I don't know what happened with Tori and Trina. Can I have some oatmeal? No.
In I Party with Victorious, the hat that Moni gives Gibby to wear as part of his disguise for the party has a Drake and Josh logo on it. We also see that Sam and Kat and Drake and Josh and Henry Danger are connected to each other through Inside Out Burger, because we see this referenced in all three shows.
Hungry. I wish I had an Inside Out Burger right now.
In the episode of Sam and Cat, #Super Psycho, Jerry Trainer makes an appearance as Crazy Steve from Drake and Josh. And also in Sam and Cat, the episode #Drone Baby Drone, Cat mentions Drake and Josh and references the episode 2 Idiots and a Baby.
I know what to do.
What?
Okay, you answer and talk to Mrs. Festerly, and I'll make baby noises in the background.
Cat.
That's not going to work.
It worked on Drake and Josh.
So again, we see constantly that Drake and Josh is referenced as a TV show, yet at the same time, we know that there are characters that exist within these universes as actual people. Okay, so let's get on to Game Shakers, because there's actually a few references to everything. In the episode Lost Jacket Falling Pigeons, in the Lost and Found, we see a Henry Danger motion comic book, a cup with the All That logo, Sam's remote, Freddy's camera, an iWeb award, Spencer's video squirrel, and Gibby's head from iCarly, Robbie's wrecked doll, Kat's purple giraffe, Josh's game sphere, and Drake's Mexican robot from Drake and Josh. Henry and Ray's gumball tube, you can also see that in the background, and Blix bottles from Zoey 101. I'm also pretty sure that that small TV in the back is the same TV from that episode of Zoey 101 where Logan gets cut off. It's like an I Spy page or something. So we have a connection to almost all of Dan Schneider's shows, except for the Amanda Show for some reason. Some would say that these are probably just fun Easter eggs, but honestly, I think that these are actually all the objects that exist from all the other shows. And the reason why I think that is because within Game Shakers, we see an appearance from Helen Dubois. Here within the show, she has her own talk show, and we know that it is the same person, because we also see that she has a mug that says, "That is not my job," because we know that's her infamous line from her show when she was a child, "Happy Times." Again, just like Victorious, Helen exists here as a character. So we do see that that's connected. So that means that the objects within Drake and Josh would also have to be existent among that world, right? There are other little hints throughout Game Shakers that suggest that they exist within the same world as the other shows. We see that in Game Shakers, Bibble exists, which is Kat's favorite snack from Victorious. In that weird special What Did Zoey Say?, we actually see that Chase and Michael are eating at the same restaurant named Fooders as the kids in Game Shakers. I also want to talk about the Pear Company for a sec, because that connects basically all of the shows together in some way. We see it on Henry Danger, Sam and Cat, Victorious, iCarly, Zoey 101, and Drake and Josh. Although this is a parody of Apple, we know that the company exists within these shows, connecting them in the same universe. While it is less mentioned in Game Shakers, the Pear logo wasn't shown at all apparently, and it was revealed that Pear pads are used in the episode Dirty Blob, where it is revealed that Double G has a Pear pad with a case with his logo on it. So we do know that Pear pads exist in Game Shakers as well. We actually also see the kids watching Drake and Josh at some point in Game Shakers, so again, there is a little bit of an inconsistency, but we're going to get into that deeper in a few minutes. So we see in Henry Danger that Goomer, the character that is previously introduced to Sam and Cat, appears in the episodes with Frankini. Whoever that is, I really didn't watch much of Sam and Cat in Henry Danger, but for the context of this video, I want to cover all my bases here. Henry Danger also connects with Zoey 101, we see, because Piper is seen watching Zoey 101 in one of the episodes of Henry Danger. Now we need to go on to Dan's biggest issue with all of his shows, and I call them Schneider's clones because they're characters that exist as characters in one show and then could exist as a different character in another show, and it completely breaks the inconsistency of some of these shows because of it. So we're gonna go through all of his clones and who they are, and then we're gonna talk about how it fucks up the whole universe thing. So let's first start with Josh. As himself, he exists in both the Amanda Show and All That. He plays the role of Josh Nichols in Drake and Josh, and in the episode of Walkstar of Victorious, he plays an audience member who compliments Jade on her show. So that means Josh Peck as well as Josh Nichols coexist in the same universe as each other. Jerry Trainer, we know, first starred on Drake and Josh as Crazy Steve. Then we saw him play Spencer on iCarly, but we also see him as an audience member, or it could be Spencer, we don't really know, in Victorious. We see him guest star again in Victorious in the April Fool's Day episode, and then we see him again in Victorious as Spencer in the iParty with Victorious special. So then we have Drake Bell, who is as himself as Drake Bell on the Amanda Show and All That, and as Drake Parker, but also as Drake Bell in Zoey 101 in the Spring Fling episode. He appears in Victorious in the April Fool's Day episode as Drake Bell, so we see again that Drake Bell and Drake Parker also exist in the same universe as different people. Because the question comes then, if Drake and Josh exists as a TV show, or does it exist as a reality show and that some have rumored? And we'll get into that theory in a few minutes. Then we have Daniela Monet, who first appeared on Zoey 101 as Chase's girlfriend, and then she was on Victorious as Trina. And then we see her appear briefly on iPsycho from iCarly as one of Nora's popular friends. We don't know, could be Trina, but I really don't think it is. It's probably just another appearance, but again, this is another case of Dan Schneider's clone-itis. Then we move on to Megan Parker, or Miranda Cosgrove, I mean. So she played Megan Parker, Carly Shay, and Paige Howard from Zoey 101, so we see her 3 times existing in this universe. Jeanette McCurdy, who plays Sam, and Melanie Puckett on iCarly, Trisha Kirby on Zoey 101, and Pawnee on Victorious. We have Victoria Justice, who plays Lola on Zoey 101, Tori on Victorious and iCarly, and Shelby Marks on iCarly. In the same universe, we see that Tori and Shelby Marks exist. And we have a little bit of a cute little reference, or at least Dan thinks it's cute, from the iParty with Victoria's special.
She looks like that Shelby Marks chick you fought.
Yeah, but this girl's way hotter.
Then we have Leon Thomas III. He guest starred as Harper on iCarly and then starred as a regular role on Victorious as Andre, but we know that they're in the same universe, so again we have another clone. Nathan Kress had a few appearances as well. In the episode of Who Did It to Trina, when the play is happening, you can actually see Nathan Kress, who plays Freddie from iCarly. He makes a cameo in this audience. We don't know, it could be Freddie, but they don't make it clear if it's him or someone else it's supposed to be. He appears as himself in the episode of Game Shakers called Game Shippers, where they find out who Freddie loved on iCarly. So we see that he exists as potentially 3 different people. And then I wanted to mention this little part, and it might not count to some, but I still want to mention it anyway because it's kind of like an interesting fact. Nathan Kress was meant to star in the Battle of Balthazar episode as a kid named Toplin from the episode of Drake and Josh, who was supposed to be a kid that had a crush on Megan. But because Dan was so impressed with Nathan's performance, he decided to cut it and have him audition for iCarly. The roles were too similar, he thought, to the episode and to the character of Freddie, so that's why he decided to cut it. And I know that doesn't technically count, like I said, but for the sake of mentioning all of Schneider's clones, I think that Toplin does count. So then we have Yvette Nicole Brown. She was on Drake and Josh as Helen, Victorious as Helen, and Game Shakers as Helen. But then it's weird because she also is seen as this just random painter in an episode of iCarly. So it could be Helen taking a painting class, but nothing's confirmed, so that could be another clone. Then we have Austin Butler, who plays 3 different characters. We first have Danifer, Stacy's little simp who chases after her in the quarantine episode of Zoey 101. Then we have James Garrett, the hunky, sweet boyfriend to Zoey in season 4 of Zoey 101. Then we have Jake Crandall, who is also a love interest to Carly. Next we have Lane Napper, who is probably most known for playing the counselor on Victorious, but we've also seen him make an appearance on Drake and Josh, and we've also seen him make an appearance in iCarly as Ernie, who is Sam's old dance teacher. So we see this guy make appearances as a couple different people, so I guess I'm going to include him even though he's just recurring. Then we have Allison Scagliotti Smith. She plays in Zoey 101 as Stacy from the Backpack episode, and then she is most notably known for Mindy from Drake and Josh. The reason why I talk about these clones is because Dan implies in his Schneiderverse that all these universes are connected somehow. However, we see multiple copies of Jeanette McCurdy, Miranda Cosgrove, Jerry Trainer, and all other people playing different people contradicting itself. Another thing is that Drake and Josh, Zoey 101, all that, and The Amanda Show have seen to exist as TV shows on different shows in the Schneiderverse, but at the same time, it is implied that some of these people actually exist. Some people want to make the argument that these shows are reality shows, which is why people like Helen, Eric and Craig, Stacey or Coco can exist as themselves, but at the same time their shows are referenced to TV shows. That might be a neat theory, but there's a few contradictions to that. Okay, so we know that Drake and Josh exist as a TV show. We know this from the numerous references on Zoey 101 and Drake and Josh. We can see that there are TV guides implying that these are both shows within the iCarly universe, one specifically where kids from Game Shakers are watching Drake and Josh, so we do know that these are shows, and we specifically see the opening of Drake and Josh, implying that the actors are played by Drake Bell and Josh Peck. However, Helen Dubois exists as a person here, just like in Victorious. In Game Shakers, she even has a dog show like I mentioned before. Another thing, Helen in general is one of the biggest problems with the things that contradict whether Drake and Josh is a TV show or real life events. And other people that we see like Stacy or Coco or Eric or Craig, all these people existing as real people kind of contradict it being a TV show. Yet if it is a reality show, it would be weird that Helen wouldn't mention that. Wouldn't she say something like, I'm also on the reality show, you know, Drake and Josh? So it would kind of like be a nod to imply that Helen Dubois is a real character, but at the same time, Drake and Josh exists as a show, but as a reality show. But we never get anything concrete enough to say that they're reality shows. And like I said, the clone thing too is like these people existing as different people within the same universe, so it's kind of odd. Again, I need more prominent proof that this like is a reality show, because it is a possibility that that could be it. But if we're going to count all of these things as canon within the same universe, I really don't know if the reality show thing is going to hold up as well. Like, all the products from these different shows imply that these shows exist within the same universe because they're referenced and used by characters from different TV shows. And the best thing I can think of is that these universes are connected, but maybe there are multiple timelines or universes with slight variations, where certain shows may exist as reality shows and others don't, which is why we see Nathan Kress as himself in Game Shakers and as Freddy and iCarly. Maybe in this timeline, iCarly was just a TV show. In the Zoey 101 and iCarly timeline, maybe they exist as reality shows of one another. Or maybe iCarly is, again, just a TV show in one specific timeline and real in another. Maybe in another timeline, Drake Bell plays the character Drake Parker, and other timelines, Drake Parker is a person that exists. It's hard to say because I could make all these theories, but there's nothing that's been actually stated. But maybe, like I said, these timelines are infinite within the same overall Schneiderverse, where, like, you know, Rick and Morty or something. There are major and slight changes that impact the timeline we are watching. Every time we catch something that overlaps or something that's not consistent, to us maybe that's an inconsistency, but within the shows they're just different timelines that have these slight variations that make them overall connected, but at the same time they're different from one another. So maybe I finally figured out what this is. Why didn't I see it before? There's no more constantly trying to find a simple explanation, because there isn't one. And I'm honestly, for a couple of days now, just because I've been constantly overall watching like Victorious character analysis videos and other stuff that has like made me wonder, like, how is this universe even connected? Because there are things that connect it and then there are things that contradict it, right? So this is the best thing I can think of, where like everything can exist within the same universe, but at the same time all these contradictions can also exist, I guess, because there's really no other way to explain it other than, like I said, there being different timelines and various infinite versions of each person. And that would also explain why maybe that in some universes, like I said, Nathan Kress exists as himself and then he exists as Freddy. The best thing I can come up with for this like stupid thing that probably no one really even cares about that much, but overall, you know, I'm just like joking. They're obviously just Easter eggs that Dan and the rest of the crew thought would be funny placements, but it's really not funny because it's caused me a lot of stress trying to figure out everything. But it was kind of fun trying to, you know, connect all of this, and while at the same time revisiting all these shows from like my childhood, and at the same time like seeing like all these little hints, because it really does show that there was some care put into like connecting these and like, you know, trying to reward the audience like who watch all the Schneider shows. Like, so I get it. And at the same time though, it's like this was definitely not an easy task, but I definitely wanted to do this I wanted to see for myself how these all connect to each other and how they're also contradictions, because there are just so many, and like I just wanted to kind of talk about how these are all connected and at the same time where there are kind of inconsistencies. So it was really fun to do that, and I really do hope that you watch this. I will see you in the next one.